Ottawa, a very hated rival of me because of the Toronto Ottawa hockey series and how they seem so pompous just because they got to a Stanley Cup final in the past 50 years and Toronto hasn't. But serves them right, they lost in the finals. Sorry, there will be lots of salt in this video, but I have to do my professional duty. Before I get to the Ottawa Senators story, I have to tell you that if you look at the What If series, I'm on part 27. I know there's 31 teams in the NHL. There will be 3 teams that will not get a What If. I don't know if I mentioned it, but anyway. The Florida Panthers are disqualified because they don't really have a what if scenario that I could fix and all that. The 96 finals, but remember, they went to the finals, so they're disqualified for that. Nashville will not get a what if because Nashville is like, I can't really tell a good what if. And one would be the finals. But, of course, and Vegas is only 2 years old, so obviously there's no what ifs with Vegas. So those 3 teams are out. So after this one, there'll be one more, and then that's it for hockey. So anyway, back to the Ottawa Senators. And this is not on purpose. I figure I might as well do this to the Ottawa video instead of the next team, the last team on my list. So anyway, the Ottawa Senators came in the league in 1992. However, there was an Ottawa NHL team way back in the day. That's right, Ottawa was part of the first ever season in the NHL history, 1917-18, alongside Montreal, Toronto, and the Montreal Wanderers. But the Wanderers arena burned down and they couldn't save themselves. The Montreal Canadiens took over Montreal hockey for 8 years. So anyway, the Ottawa Senators were the stars of the 1920s. They were the dynasty of the 1920s. Not the Habs, not the Leafs, but the Senators. Winning 4 Stanley Cups in the 1920s. I think 4. But anyway, the Senators look good. Unfortunately, finances were terrible for the Senators. But of course, in Canada, finances were terrible because of the Great Depression. Montreal almost sold their team to Cleveland. And Toronto, well, thankfully, Toronto got in. How Toronto got their financial backing in the Great Depression, I don't know. But anyway, Ottawa was so desperate. There were rumors that, well, they moved to St. Louis to become the St. Louis Eagles. Kind of strange putting a team in Missouri. But of course, that Eagles team folded after 1 year. That everyone that was in St. Louis Eagle was dispersed to NHL clubs. So anyway, Ottawa was hockey for 58 years. Ottawa had a lot of ownership issues before this franchise even started. Like who was the owner? And the fact is, Ottawa made a couple of big mistakes in the expansion draft, drafting players that were ineligible because they were working from a terrible team sheet. But Ottawa did okay with their players. Heck, Ottawa even won their first ever game against the Montreal Canadiens at, not the Corel Center, but at the Ottawa Civic Center in front of only 10,000 fans. 5-3 your final score. Senators won. Neil Brady was the guy who scored the first goal for the Senators. So, yeah, the paper said Rome was built in a day because the Senators were 1-0 against the eventual Stanley Cup champions. But unfortunately, Ottawa stunk even worse. Sure, they won 11 games. They did pretty good. But unfortunately, Ottawa got themselves some negativity when it was revealed that they were tanking on purpose to get the number 1 draft pick, to get Alex Steg from the Victoriaville Tigres of the Quebec League. Ottawa did have a few positive points, especially in the 1993 All-Star game in Montreal. Their only All-Star, Brad Marsh, scored a goal. And heck, their goalie, Peter Zadorkowicz, was named to the All-Star team. I don't know why, because Ottawa was second, I guess for pity. But Zadorkowicz actually was credited with the W because he was the winning goalie when the winning goal was scored in that 16-6 Wales win over Campbell Conference. Amazing. But anyway, Ottawa's tanking gave them not much money. They were fined $150,000, and finally the NHL decided to do the draft lottery to make sure that teams wouldn't be so stupid and do it again. Although sometimes that blew in the wind. But anyhow, the Ottawa Senators would rue the day of tanking for Alex Steg, as Steg was terrible, and Steg basically got himself into a lot of trouble with the league by stating that no one's going to know who's the number 2 pick in the draft. the pick, which sounds like traded to Hartford, was actually Chris Pronger, a star defenseman. You know who he is? And ironically, Pronger was on the Anaheim Ducks team that won the 2007 Stanley Cup over the Senators. So anyway, the Senators plodded along and had some problems. They had terrible coaching, terrible goaltending, just terrible offensive work. So anyway, the Senators got Jacques Martin as a head coach. Jacques Martin turned around the St. Louis Blues for many years. And Jacques Martin actually coached the Guelph Storm to the 1986 Memorial Cup. I don't really hate Guelph as much as I hate London, so just saying. So anyway, that turned things around, and Ottawa made a furious late season romp that got them the Stanley Cup's seventh spot in the Eastern Conference by beating Buffalo 1-0 on the final day. The Senators faced the Sabres and thought they had a good idea of things because, Don Mikashik was hurt and didn't play in that series. Wrongo. Steve Shields played fantastic. Senators did force a Game 7, but unfortunately the Sabres got them in overtime on a Derek Plante goal. The Senators didn't give up. They got to the Stanley Cup playoffs in 98. Yeah, they were worse as an 8 seed and would have to face the New Jersey Devils. However, the New Jersey Devils, shockingly, didn't play like Stanley Cup contenders. And the Senators, I think, won a game in overtime on a Bruce Gardner goal, like Game 2, I think. And then all of a sudden, the Senators were up 3-2 with a Game 6 at home. And all of a sudden, you see the Senators pull one out of the hat, winning 4-2 in an over enthusiastic Corral Center. So the Senators were going to the second round of the playoffs. They took on the Washington Capitals in the Battle of the Capitals because Ottawa is Canada's capital, Washington's U.S. capital. Sweep for Washington. Oh well. Ottawa kept trying and they kept doing decently and all that. However, in 2000, they would start a 5-year playoff rivalry with the Toronto Maple Leafs. 4 times they would bump into the Leafs in the 5 years. In 2000, the Senators looked very hot. Second best team in the conference. They would take on Toronto. But Toronto basically didn't let Ottawa down for the canvas. Toronto wins in 5 games. Yeah, it was the famous Steve Thomas overtime goal that sunk the Senators and Tom Barrasso. So the Sens lost that one. 2001, they come back. They get the Leafs again. Okay, no problems. But then Corey Cross scored a famous overtime goal to sink the Senators. And let's not forget Matt Sundin's Game 1 overtime goal that pinged off the post in a 1-0 game. So the Leafs won that series against the Senators again with odds. However, Ottawa got the last laugh as the Leafs would then go on to lose the next playoff round against the Devils in both 2000 and 2001. 2002, the Senators went in the first round against the New York Islanders. Not the New York Islanders. The Senators went in the first round against the Philadelphia Flyers, who were going all out saying that we're going to beat the tar out of Ottawa. They had no chance. Philly's offense in the 5-game series scored 3 goals. Senators won that series in 5 and shocked everyone with the Flyers. They would take on their hated rivals, the Toronto Maple Leafs, who needed a Game 7 to beat the New York Islanders on home ice. So the Sens took on the Leafs in 2002. It was actually a bigger series than we thought. I remember watching Game 6 of the Sens-Leafs series with my dad on a Sunday night while my mom was working at a nursing home. We were on the couch watching the game and all that because the Sens just needed to win Game 6 to go on to the Stanley Cup semifinals. But the Leafs won, and then I felt confident they were going to win Game 7. And that's what they did. They won Game 7 for Ottawa. However, Ottawa again got the last laugh as the Leafs lost the next playoff round to the Carolina Hurricanes. That should not have happened. From a Leaf fan point of view, 2000, 2001, understandable. But 2003, really? 2002, really? So anyway, the Senators would take on the New York Islanders in the 2003 first round and beat them. However, the Leafs would not be in the second round with the Senators, as the Leafs ended up losing Game 7 to the Philadelphia Flyers in one of the longest playoff series by time in history. Let me explain. The Flyers and Leafs went through what? Couple of double overtimes and a triple overtime or something. They went through a lot of overtime and all that. The combined time of that series was akin to the 1939 Bruins Rangers semifinal. For context. So anyway, the Senators took care of the Flyers, kind of giving Toronto a "you're welcome." So anyway, the Senators would take on the Devils in the 2003 Eastern Conference Finals, and the Sens had home ice this time. Sens and Devils were fighting tooth and nail Game 7 at home, and I'm thinking, well, you know what? Ottawa deserves it. And we need a Canadian team in the Stanley Cup. We haven't seen one in 9 years. Lo and behold, Jeff frickin' Friesen scores a goal with 2 minutes left, and the Devils win. The one time I really wanted Ottawa to win, and they didn't. But 2004, Sens and Leafs win mean in the first round again, and it was another catch can series. I forgot to mention that Daniel Epperson was hated in Toronto, but not as much as he was hated after Game 5 of the 2002 playoffs when he high-sticked somebody. I forget who it was. No penalty call, and then he's had the audacity to score the game-winning goal. So in 2004, the Sens took on the Leafs. I was heartbroken as the Sens beat the Leafs Game 1 the day before my 19th birthday. But anyhow, Sens and Leafs went toe-to-toe. And I also forgot to mention in 2002 that Gary Roberts scored a triple overtime goal to sink the Sens. But anyway, the Leafs didn't have their overtime magic moment in 2004. Or was that 2004 when Roberts did it in overtime? I don't think so. I think it was 2002. So anyway, the Leafs were up 3-2. They had to win Game 6 in Ottawa to get the series. But Ottawa got Mike Fisher, double overtime goal. We are going to Game 7 in Toronto. And Patrick Lalime seemed good, but he crumbled. Joe Dudek scored a pair of unfathomable goals that Lalime should have easily solved. And the Ottawa Senators lost the game 4-0 to the Leafs. Leafs were on to the second round. Again, the Leafs would have come and bite them in the butt, as after they beat Ottawa, they lost to the Flyers in 6 games. But Ottawa rebuilt themselves in 2005 and all that. The Sens in 2006 and 2007 would face the Sabres in back-to-back unforgettable playoff series. 2006, they got bit by the Sabres, but they bit the Sabres back in 2007 when it counted, as the Sabres were the #1 team in the East, and the Sens took care of Buffalo thanks to a Daniel Albertson Game 5 overtime goal that many fans in the United States didn't see because NBC cut it away for the Preakness, if memory serves me right. Yeah, it was the Preakness. In Canada, obviously, you got to see the goal because, obviously, you don't see horse racing on TSN. Well, TSN had the horse racing, but TSN didn't have the Sun Series out of CBC. So anyway, the Suns went to the Stanley Cup Finals against the Anaheim Ducks, but the Ducks were on a mission to give a Stanley Cup to Teemu Selanne. And they had the Niedermeyer brothers, Scott and Rob, on the same team. They had some great players, Chris Pronger, but unfortunately, Ottawa's key defenseman, Chris Phillips, made a gaff in Game 5, put the puck into its own net. Ducks won the Stanley Cup in 5 games. Anyway, the Senators had some playoff series and all that. They did okay for the most part. 2013, they shot the #2 seed out Montreal Canadiens. But anyway, the what if I'm talking about is 2017, the last year before they really sucked and are sucking now. I do take a little bit of pleasure in that, but not too much. Anyway, the 2017 Ottawa Senators were on a mission. They got through a couple of opponents. I can't remember who they were. Well, I know the second round was the New York Rangers, which broke my heart because I totally was going for the New York Rangers against the Ottawa Senators. So anyway, J.G. Pajot with his 4-goal night against Henrik Lundqvist. It was scary seeing the Rangers lose a couple of big overtime games in Ottawa. But anyway, Ottawa got to the Stanley Cup semifinals against the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Sens won Game 1. I forget who scored the overtime goal, but the Sens drew first play. I think it was Bobby Ryan. But anyway, the Sens won Game 1. I'm like, oy, Ottawa in the Stanley Cup finals. They're probably going to win because this was when it was possibly Nashville. I think it was Nashville or San Jose. I forget who was in the Stanley Cup semifinals. I think it was Nashville and Anaheim. Oh yeah, Nashville and Anaheim, because Anaheim won over into the second round that year. So yeah, I'm thinking, well, maybe the Suns might have the Stanley Cup this year. But lo and behold, game 7, double overtime, the Coon, Chris Kunitz, scored the big goal. The Coon is in Raccoon, of course, because his name starts with KUA. So anyway, Kunitz scored the double overtime goal to sink the Senators and go to the Stanley Cup Finals. So I am obviously doing the 2017 Sens. They win the overtime game against the Penguins. They will now take on the Nashville Predators and probably win the Stanley Cup for a Canadian team for the first time in 24 years. We'll see. So it's the Preds against the Sens. And Ottawa actually won more games than Nashville. That's serious. So that's why they're the top seed against the Predators. Rene versus Craig Anderson. Game 1 sees a low-scoring affair. 2 goals, both by the Senators. Erik Karlsson and Alex Burrows. I forgot Burrows played for the 19. I know Burrows plays now for the Sens, but 2017 Sens 2-0. Boy, oh boy. Shots on Craig Anderson was great. 35 saves. Anderson. So it was Anderson, Karlsson, and Burrows. The 3 stars of the game. Because why not? Boy, Pekka Rinne gives up 1 goal and then gives up an empty net goal. Game 2 saw more goals. This time, Nashville won 3-0. Victor Arvidsson with a pair and James Neal scored. Man, oh man, James Neal. The year before he went to Vegas and led the Knights to the Stanley Cup Finals. Rene, Arvidsson, Neal, your 3 stars. So basically, it's a low-scoring affair. On to Game 3 in Smashville. And it was another low-scoring affair. Mark Stone made it 1-0. Boy, this is a soccer series. The soccer series because low-scoring. So anyway, the Sens did have some bad luck, even though Mark Stone scored for them. Mark Bororecki got ejected for cross-checking someone, and the Predators didn't do a damn thing about it. They couldn't do it. Craig Anderson was just amazing. Pekka Rinne, Matt Stone. Oh, Mark Stone. I didn't say Matt Stone. I'm thinking South Park. Game 4 saw another shutout. Nashville winning 3-0. This has got to be crazy that the first 4 games in a playoff series are shutouts, and not just by one team. The Predators scored 3 goals. Kalle Jarnkrok, Colin Wilson, and Ryan Johansson. So the Sens can't believe their luck. It's 2-2. Now, this series is going quite quickly. 3-0. Rene and Wilson Ekholm. On to Game 5 in Ottawa. Are we going to see another shutout? The answer is no. The Sens did win game 2-1. Craig Smith scored for the Predators, and you're thinking, well, there goes the shutout. But J.G. Pajot scored. Heck, we have a 1-1 tie. First time that both teams scored a goal in this. And Mark Stone, in the middle of the 3rd period, scored for the Sens. So the Sens might have the Stanley Cup. Hard to say. So anyway, 2-1 score. Anderson, Rene, Karlsson. Boy, oh boy. I think every game's had at least 3 goals and nothing more than that. I think it's like, what, 3-1, 3-3-2? I think it's like 12 goals combined or something like that. Anyway, game 6 in Smashville. Are we going to see a shutout? Yep. We do not see a shutout, but we do see a Canadian Stanley Cup as Ottawa hold a rabbit out of their tracks and become the 12th team to get their happy endings in the NHL. 3-2 your score. Victor Arvidsson scored for the Preds to make 1-0. Mark Stone made it 1-1. Mike Hoffman, Kitchener native, but not Kitchener Ranger. And then a double liner by P.A. Parenteau ruined things as Mike Hoffman scored on that power play. Victor Arvidsson scored a late goal, but in the end, the Senators win the Stanley Cup in 6 games, despite being shut out twice by the Predators. When they score, they win. That's the Senators' way. So shockingly, they won. So anyway, we'll talk about the rosters later. So Hoffman, the first star, Victor Arvidsson, Mark Stone. Craig Anderson definitely gets the Conn Smythe for me. I would say Mark Stone too, but I would probably give it to Craig Anderson. And Mark Stone would play for the 2018 Knights. So anyway, Nashville had Ekholm, Roman Josi, PK Subban, Matt Irwin, Yannick Weber, Kitchener, Victor Arvidsson, Craig Smith, Ryan Johansson, Philip Forsberg, Colin Wilson, Kalle Jarnkrok, P.A. Parenteau, Mikey Fisher, for Senator, James Neal, Reed Boucher, Kevin Fiala, Colvin Sissons, Anthony Patello, Ryan Ellis. Boy, they didn't give him much ice time. Austin Watson and Fern Fiddler. Whereas the Senators Stanley Cup champion Eric Carlson, he gets a Stanley Cup. Yep, enough. Oh well. What can you expect trading him from the Leafs to the Senators? Cody Ceci, Chris Weidman, Mark Borecki, Mark Raffo, Mike Hoffman, Kyle Turris, Derek Brassard, Brett Green, oh yeah, I forgot about him. Alex Burrows, Ryan Jalingo, Zach Smith, Mark Stone, J.G. Pachot, Bobby Ryan, Victor Stallberg, Chris Neal, the veteran, Tom Pyatt, Freddie Cleason, Yurki Kobe Jokipaka? What's her name? Chris Kelly and Tommy Bingos. Wow. Amazing. The Senators actually got the Stanley Cup. I'm gonna faint. Crunch. That's how it goes.